I leap into someone being told a nice story from their dad about ghosts. Not the dead type, but these special soldiers apparently. The story is rudely interrupted by some sort of apocalypse. If it's God, he must really have hated my dad's story. Turns out I'm a spaceman now. It would be nice to be spending my time looking at the beautiful sights up here, but I'm too busy now dealing with these astronaut space terrorists or whatever. I don't know how they managed to get here. I wasn't aware there was some sort of space bus that can drop them off. It turns out that this space station is being used by the space terrorists as some sort of giant weapon, or possibly just to ruin some guy's story. I'm back as one of the two brothers who were running around looking at explosions, or getting hit by cars. We survive, eventually, despite the chaos and devastation of the attack. Suddenly we're all grown up and have become soldiers for good old Dad, and we have a dog too, called Riley. We shoot up the bad guys and the dog helps, but it's up to me to take down the helicopters, as the dog can't jump that high. We go to meet up with Dad, and after he looks right through me, which hits me right in my abandonment issues, he sends me and my bro to no man's land. He clearly just wants to get rid of us. For a moment, I'm Riley the dog, and I get to experience what it's like to have another man's flesh in my mouth. He's also a good sneaky boy, as he sneaks his way around the enemy camp, taking the occasional enemy from behind. Doggy style. We find out that the baddies have a hostage, and even pretend to shoot him. I'm back as the brother, and we catch up with Riley. As we make our way out of there, we're attacked by wolves, which makes sense, but we're eventually saved by ghosts. Not the see-through dead type, but those legendary soldiers mentioned by my dad that are known as ghosts. We tell them about the hostage the baddies have, and they say to come with them if we're good boys, like Riley. So, we agree to help the ghosts rescue Ajax, the hostage who happens to be one of the ghosts. We head to the stadium and get a glimpse of how nicely they're treating him. We get a truck and literally explode our way in doing the shootings and killings until we eventually get to the room that Ajax is supposed to be in. However, one of the enemies tells us that Ajax is not in the room that Ajax is supposed to be in, so he gets his throat cut for giving the bad news. At least he didn't shoot the messenger. After shooting a few people, we finally get into the room that Ajax actually is in, but it's too late. But not late enough for him to tell us that someone called Rourke is the bad guy behind it all. We help the ghosts, with the ghost who is dead, escape. Then we manage to escape and Riley the dog flies the helicopter to get us out of there. When we get back to base, it's under attack. There's baddies and explosions everywhere. We try to defend the beach, but there are enemies all over it. It's like a British beach when it's anything over 15 degrees. Gunfire and explosions are everywhere. Even a hovercraft shows up. We have to retreat, and as we're doing that, I see a guy trying to put out the flames. Yeah, like that's going to solve our problem, mate. It's like putting a plaster on a headless corpse. We try to get to Dad, but he's not there. Then this ninja guy comes in and attacks me. Then he stabs me. My bro comes in and saves me by shooting him. My bro then says, "You're bleeding." Yes, that'll be where he stabbed me, mate. You know, it tends to do that. Stab wounds cause bleeding. Suddenly we're rescued by the ghosts. And then it turns out, our dad is a ghost. Not a dead ghost. Well, not yet anyway. Dad tells us another story, but this time it's about this Rourke guy, who was also a ghost. Now I'm my dad, which is a bit weird, because it means I could touch my own dad's willy. There's explosions going off everywhere. I'm tasked with stopping a rocket from being fired, but I messed that up and it ends up with a dam being blown up. Double dam. The water comes rushing down and I want to get out of there, as I already had a bath last month. But the whole city is flooded, and there's plenty of chaos as roofs collapse, and the flow of water throws me about like I'm at some sort of theme park ride, but still less dangerous than Alton Towers. I play hide and seek in the water with some soldiers, and everything is going well until I accidentally shoot Rourke by accident. Maybe that's why he holds such a grudge. I get to a copter and save the day, mainly by saving Rourke, and then letting go of Rourke so he can die in order to save everyone else. So I guess I do save the day on the day, but today the day is not saved, despite the day I did save the day. Because now Rourke is looking to get revenge in the future, which is now. So the Bad Guy Federation have managed to brainwash Rourke, and so he's like a super bad guy now. And I'm back as my dad's son. To find Rourke, we're going to need to find someone called Ramos. We zipline over to a skyscraper and take out some guards. I think to myself that if anybody went to check on them, they'd just see a bunch of dead guards, so we'd probably have been better off just leaving them there, right? Anyway, we make our way inside and I upload the coronavirus into their system. Suddenly, the baddies are coming in just as I'm doing this, so I have to hide in the shadows. The baddies walk past and don't seem to notice me jumping up and down. My colleague kills a guy and then I turn the lights off to the building. We walk down the skyscraper and stuff starts to go wrong when everyone is shooting at us. And you know stuff is going wrong when someone even throws a printer at you. Eventually we get to Ramos and he says he doesn't know who Rourke is, just before Rourke suddenly appears on TV. How'd he get in there? Anyway, it turns out it's all been a big trap as the building does the explosions and we jump out of the window to get out of there. Fortunately, we all happen to have parachutes, because of course we do. Suddenly I'm in a helicopter and spend my time causing massive damage and a hefty cleanup bill, just like the drug-fueled parties I have with hookers in hotels. We're looking for Rourke, and then we find Rourke, which was easier than expected, like your mum. We've captured Rourke, but the torturing doesn't go too well when it turns out it's exactly what he'd been planning for the whole time. Then the tables are turned when the plane is turned and we end up falling out of the plane. Luckily, I again have a parachute and I manage to land in the jungle, but I'm on my own and nowhere near my colleagues. I do see a colleague caught up in the trees though, who clearly didn't make it in life. When I look up, I think, I've not seen someone that hung up since David Carradine. There's too many enemies, so I have to move around stealthily until I get to the wreckage, and it's nice to see some wreckage which isn't my life. Eventually I get to where the ghosts are, and they've been taken hostage, so I help them out by killing their captors, and then we make our way along the river. There's a number of patrolling soldiers nearby, and we get told to hide behind a small waterfall. Yeah, because nothing hides you better than clear water. We get to another patrol and some idiot gets seen. Then this idiot accidentally shoots his brother. I think I've killed him for a moment, but fortunately he gets back up. Suddenly, we see that a missile has been launched, and then some helicopters come, but we manage to get out of there by jumping off a considerably big waterfall, which seems like a perfectly safe thing to do. We're at some snowy place now to find out where the missile went. We're all dressed up as the bad guys, and we stop a vehicle. I think the driver is over the alcohol limit, so I stab the guy, because I have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to drink driving, unless it's me. We travel into the baddie's base undetected and the power goes out as planned. We put our night vision goggles on and have a bit of a clean up. I show how good I am at drilling things, like your mum, and then we make our way toward the data centre. We shoot some peeps and then we protect my bro as he downloads the data we need. There's a lot of bloodshed, and once we've downloaded the data we need and we've shot up enough people, we try to act our way out. We walk past the many people we've injured and the many people we've killed. To be honest, as we make our way past all the death and destruction we've caused, it's hard not to laugh. Like Adam Sandler, eventually our acting fails, so we get into a considerably large shootout. We have to use various tactics to get out of there, and give people a nice icy bath. Luckily, we're saved when our submarine comes out of nowhere. Now we're tasked with sabotaging an oil platform to cause a diversion for reasons. We go from icy water, to shooting, to rappelling up, to shooting again. We blow up the oil platform and many people lose their jobs, and their lives. Then again, they shouldn't be shooting us. Then again, we are blowing up their place of work. It's a real chicken and egg situation we've got going, I guess. Either way, the explosion is so big, even the Aurora Borealis is impressed. I go for a dip in the ocean and get to swim with the sharks for a bit. I have to cut open a door and knife a guy in the water, which is harder than it sounds. I fire a torpedo and bring down the destroyer that's guarding the Federation's weapons. We shoot our guns underwater, which is as unrealistic as it sounds. Still, we manage to make our way out of there, despite the enemies, falling debris stuff and the sharks. We infiltrate a factory because we want to know what the Fed are building. I introduced my knife to a guy by saying, "Knife to meet you." I look around and no one found it funny, which I'm used to. The factory reminds me of an Amazon warehouse, except there's a bunch of missiles around. So, future Amazon then. We access the black zone after shooting some peeps, and find out that they have rockets which will cause as much destruction as I'd cause your mum. So we decide we need to make this place disappear, like my dad did when I was a kid. We copy some data and then all hell breaks loose. Wow, the copy protection peoples are a lot more aggressive nowadays. We focus on getting out of there, but it's busier than a Pornhub server in December. But we manage to shoot our way through the equivalent of a small country and pick up an Uber to get out of there. We return to the safe house to wait for Keegan, who's gone on holiday or something. It turns out that the bad guy feds have reverse engineered a space weapon from the beginning of the game. We get gassed and taken hostage. I wasn't too worried about getting tortured until I get shot, which angers me a bit, so I break out and try to grab the gun from Rourke when it backfires, literally on my dad. After I've inadvertently shot my dad a couple of times, Rourke feels left out and he joins in shooting my dad. Despite messing everything up and shooting him, my dad says he's proud of me, something that's never going to come out of the mouth of my real dad. And Rourke shoots him in the head. Maybe he'll come back as a ghost. Just as my bro is getting ended, a shot comes out of nowhere and saves us. Turns out it's Keegan who's just got back from his holiday. I grab a gun and shoot the guy my brother is bumming about with. We slowly make our escape with the help of Keegan. Riley ends up getting shot, and so I punish people by killing them, until eventually we rescue Riley and get ourselves out of there. It turns out Riley is okay, but after being shot, he's retired from active duty, just like my dad. We try to defend something, but there's just so many people to murder, I'm constantly being distracted. They try to board our battleship before they successfully sink our battleship, and then we needs to get out of there. I think I'm someone else for a bit, but I've no idea who, and I don't really care too much because I'm in a tank that's in a plane. And when the tank falls out of the plane, I'm spending my time blowing up everything around me. After causing more damage than Simon Cowell has caused to his face, I'm then the bro again, and we make our way inside a building where we Rambo everybody. We get to a control room and I'm told to launch the missile. I don't know where it's going to cause the explosions, but I can only hope it's Slough. We continue with real people target practice and then catch a train. I hope we're going to the zoo. Soon I'm back as an astronaut, in space no less, and I'm with a bunch of space soldiers who are attacking other space soldiers. We try to make it to an entrance of a space station, but explosions happen and put a stop to that. We work our way to the control module and I manage to send a bunch of missiles our enemy's way. And then I'm told to fire at the train despite knowing that the Ghost Brothers are on it. But I do it as it's not like I'm the one on the train, is it? Then I'm on the train. Great. In 15 minutes the space version of me is going to be sending those missiles, so we better kill Rourke as soon as possible and find another way to go to the zoo. We do see Rourke, but he's on TV again, so I shoot it, and then my brother punches it because he always has to try and one-up me. We make our way along the train like an aggressive train conductor, kicking people off without a ticket. Even a helicopter tried to steal a ride. After shooting past all the goons, we eventually get to Rourke, but he kicks my ass again like usual. Eventually, the missile I sent whilst in space hits and sends the train crashing into the ocean. But I manage to get Rourke's gun and my bro throws a bullet, which I use to shoot Rourke. But the bullet has also penetrated one of the windows and the water comes rushing in. Still, I manage to get my brother and me to safety, and I drag him along the beach where we can watch the pretty explosions in the distance. And with that, I leap to a new game. Wait, I'm back? Where are we going? To the zoo? Oh boy.